Introducing first the challenger. She is from Ireland at 141 pounds. She is Velvet McIntyre. And introducing from Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, she weighs 152 pounds, the U.S. Ladies Champion, Judy Martin. One fall, 15-minute time limit.
Well, here's a championship match. The U.S. Girls Championship on the line. Judy Martin defending her title against Velvet McIntyre. The referee, Jack Howe, has the belt. And as we get ready to watch this championship match, don't forget, maybe next week, Bob Sweetan against Tully Blanchard for the Southwest Championship. Judy Martin off with a jacket. She's the champion. Oh, Velvet McIntyre starts with a drop kick. Another drop kick. Judy Martin bails out of the ring. She said, whoop. What's going on here? I'm the champion. What's going on? Well, she's getting no respect from Velvet McIntyre. That's for sure. Velvet McIntyre has her laid across that top rope. Goes a forearm from in behind. Martin goes down. Now, Velvet McIntyre brings her inside. Has hold of the hair of Judy Martin. She slapped her. Oh, she slapped her. And there goes Martin out of the ring on the other side now. Well, the champion not getting a very good shake here in the opening part of the match. As Velvet McIntyre came prepared, and we talked to her earlier in the week, and she said she'd been putting everything into this. She just feels like she can just stay with anybody, and she would like to strip Judy Martin of that championship here today on Southwest Championship Wrestling. But there's the champion. You can see she is ready. She comes back fighting. Up in the air, an atomic drop, and down goes Judy Martin. All you fans in the state capital of Texas over in Austin tonight at the Memorial Coliseum, the excitement of Southwest Championship Wrestling will be there. So we'll see in Austin, Texas tonight. Judy Martin coming in between the ropes. She don't want to have nothing to do with Velvet McIntyre, and they're staying across the ring from each other. Now they lock up. Side headlock by Judy Martin. She threw a fist right on the jaw of Velvet McIntyre. Grabs her by the hair, throws her down. Oh. Velvet McIntyre from Ireland trying to win the U.S. Girls Championship as she battles it out with the champion, Judy Martin. Over the top she went. That elbow catches her and knocks her down as she tries to come back. Big forearm around the area of the throat. Off the ropes, Velvet McIntyre ducks underneath. Cross body block. She's got her down. Oh, she didn't get her. Just got her too. Now, Velvet McIntyre's hooked her, and she has her for a 2 count as Judy Martin come out. Judy Martin staying in between the ropes, trying to get a breather. Jack Howe telling Velvet McIntyre to stay back, let Judy get out of that corner. Off the ropes comes Judy Martin. She goes over the top of Velvet McIntyre, and she kicks her with a knee and takes her down. Judy Martin from Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. Beautiful country down there. I was stationed over in Columbia, South Carolina at Fort Jackson when I was in the Army. Not too far from Myrtle Beach. Judy Martin. Reaches down, grabs the hair of Velvet McIntyre, and she snaps her over with a hair. Outside the ring and onto the apron.
Somebody else who can or wants to stand up to him and give and take punishment. So Patera does the crowding. Patera maneuvers him back into the corner and uses that power to try to hold him there. But when you start talking about power, just remember that Brody is the kind of a guy who exudes the man-to-man strength that is necessary in this kind of a scrap. There is a grudging respect apparent between these two men, in spite of the fact that they have no respect at all for each other. But they surely respect what either man is capable of doing. Patera trying to pursue Brody and follow up on his advantage. And Ken now, with that powerful arm of his wrapped around the head of Brody, finds that it doesn't do any good. This is the kind of a thing Patera usually does. And now it's being done to him. The Bruiser has thus tried to humiliate Ken Patera. Patera's not a Bruiser. Brody was kicked backward into referee Eric Mannheimer, and Mannheimer had all of Brody's weight fall on top of him. And here is Ken Patera trying to follow it up. Follow it up is one thing, but here we have Patera halfway out of the ring, and that's Tank Patton. And Tank Patton pushes. He pushed Patera in and handed him the chair, and the referee is down flat on his face, and Brody is catching it from the weapon handed to him by Tank Patton. Here comes Big Bobby Duncan. Bobby Duncan coming down here to try to do something about restoring law and order. The fans are telling Bobby Duncan what happened with Patera and the chair. And Tank is at the ringside. But now here comes referee Nick Kozak, who has refereed some of the matches tonight. And as Patera takes a full Nelson, Eric Mannheimer just barely gets up to his feet, and Brody's in trouble. Nick Kozak is down at ringside trying to keep law and order on the outside, and Brody is in deadly serious trouble here as the full Nelson of one of the strongest men in the world bears down on the back of his neck, and the fans are screaming for Brody, whose head is bleeding. He got clobbered with that chair, and listen to the tremendous noise as this hold is applied. The fans screaming, "Come on, Brody." Brody is doing well to have lasted as long as he has in this hold. It's a hold that Patera might not have been able to get if it hadn't been for the use of that weapon. And as Patera tries to force him down and force a capitulation, Brody backed up into the turnbuckle that time, drove Patera back into the turn, and again he's trying to break the hold. Smart move on Brody's part. Oh man, this time he caught him, and in comes Tank Patton up on the apron, and the referee threatening him. There's Brody, and Brody comes over to lay it in where it belongs, right on the head.
Was filmed. Mr. Moto was reigning supreme in the state of Texas. He held the Texas State Heavyweight title, and he also held a reputation for toughness that has rarely been equaled, not only in that era, but in every other. But as generations go by, we forget that the popularity or unpopularity of a sport was built on the bodies of a lot of athletes that preceded those who today receive the headlines and the huge salaries. Mr. Moto, who came from Japan, came here with the style that was bound to be unpopular almost from the very beginning. It followed a period during the post-war wrestling in which people were willing to cheer against anything that was Oriental. On the outside of the ring, you see Duke Keamuka. And Keamuka is one of those people who, like Mr. Moto, suffered or benefited, as you will, from the attitude of the fans. The referee in this one is Leo Voss, who refereed a great deal all over the southeastern part of Texas during this particular time. So the great Scott, who came from Columbus, Ohio, and had a colorful style, who earned the name which he gave himself, the Great Scott, is trying now to prove to the fans of Texas that he is the superior of Mr. Moto. Mr. Moto lives in California at the present time. He is connected with wrestling in Japan. He spends much of his time scouting wrestlers here and advising those in Japan of their ability or lack of ability. In many cases, he is the last word as to whether the Japanese wrestling interests will import an American. If he gives them a high mark, then they are sure to accept his decision. So the Great Scott right now, though, is trying to ruin the reputation of Mr. Moto in one field. Over in the corner, you see Moto conferring with Duke Keamuka. Duke Keamuka, who is connected with wrestling in Florida, and like Moto is also connected with wrestling in Japan, has never lost his spot in the minds of wrestling fans of Texas. While Moto, for a brief period, transcended the impression that Keamuka had made, Keamuka over the years has proven to be more durable, more absolutely tough than fans even thought he was in those days. But this is the way that wrestling in the Sportatorium and in the rest of Texas took place back in the period over the turn of the 50s and 60s. And as Leo Voss proves, he can't see through the back of a wrestler any more than those who are refereeing these days can. Scott finds himself in trouble with, of course, a Japanese arm lock. And Scott has a lot of tricks up his bag. He's a guy who could get rough and who did get rough on many occasions, who emulated the fine, free-flowing style of Buddy Rogers. And it was Rogers who started the influx of a great many of the blonde wrestlers who came into the game at that time. They weren't all blondes when they started. It was just that at some point in their career, they felt that the change of hair color would benefit them, and in some cases it did, and in some cases it made them more a symbol of duplication than it did of originality. So top man is Moto, as Leo Voss switches around and tries to catch him in the act of garroting his opponent. And in this battle here in the Sportatorium in Dallas, Texas, back somewhere around 1960, Moto is in trouble, and people are telling him to go back to Japan, where he came from.